how's it going?
It's very good. So, so I'm probably going with the James.
What do you think you'll grow into?
I have no idea. That's what I've never had a plan ever on any of this. It's just what's the opportunity at the moment. How can I play with that in an interesting way? Um, which there's a lot of things why you would want to plan in business, but I just I don't know. Maybe eventually I'll plan.
Do you have any fear about this being on the market still available?
I mean, it's been 5-6 years now, and I'm very proud of the results of it. With all the places where it's been fixed, the very low abuse scenarios. We're very intentional when we think about, okay, let's add a feature to this, but let's figure out who wants the feature, who's going to make use of it. Like, for instance, the number one that I want to avoid is the stuff or sponsor stuff. People look at this and they're like, oh yeah, I need that. I'm going to make that hard. That's not as valuable to a renting professional. We're trying to get into corporate infrastructure. We're trying to do Ocean's 11 shit on a Fortune 10 or something like that.
This would be so easy to plant in any government facility.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I shouldn't say.
Here's after this.
I shouldn't say any government facility, but it might be. It's been a while since I've been to a skiff, but they seem to have a pretty.
Oh yeah.
Pretty good. What's going on? But I'm talking about PC.
Yes.
Senators, politicians. Those types it would be a fucking joke. Just to you can hand them out.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though, is that's the other aspect. Is there's a lot of very detectable defaults. You have to really know how to use the tool to work around these things, but by design, it's supposed to be detectable if you're doing good security. It's going to light up. It's literally, it announces itself as an OMG cable out of the, effectively out of the blues, right? So hopefully you're at least checking that.
In all of your experiences, doing red cell operations.
Yes and no.
How many people do you think are testing that?
So here's the thing, is the people who are that low on the bar of security, they need to get in. Let's pick up the phone and send an email.
Okay, fair enough.
That's that sweet spot where it's all, you map out all the desires and capabilities and threats and negative consequences and just thread the needle to get just that sweet spot. And we spent a lot of time thinking about that, but right now I just went to the last 5 years of the results, and I can talk all day about how much intent we put into it, but the results are far better than the intent in terms of convincing somebody. Another thing, so I think I showed you these actually should be deactivated for multiple reasons, which you can imagine. There's a little called the programmer. It's going to be ritual. So you plug this in your computer to activate it, right? This all doubles for multiple other things. So if you do a self-destruct on it, you recover the cable if you wanted to. You have to get it back out of the field. But self-destruct, it will just put it into a neutral cable that's just not thermal at all. Really good if you can't pull the thing back out of the field when you want to neutralize all your stuff. However, if you're blue team, found this, you can also use one of these to tell every bit of firmware that's working on here, payloads, bad stuff. So as long as it's been self-destructing, you just don't then do a full forensics on it, so they get to practice as well. So yeah, we've done a lot of things that can show off the forensic capabilities of which machine. So it's meant to be holistic for security, not just purely offensive use. It's really about raising the bar, basically.
Interesting. I mean, when I look at that, I've always heard, all right, you guys always tell us, ship something. If you're gonna get an iPhone cable, get it from the Apple store, not from Amazon. If you're getting Wi-Fi extenders, go from the manufacturer, get some shit on Amazon. He's trying to put the shit into our ecosystem.
I doubt it. So these are highly targeted. So it's kind of
Things like this.
yeah, exactly. But I think it's good to think about it like let's step back to like a different type of crime, like pickpocketing versus like notions of like a bank job, right? Like this is more like the bank job, whereas pickpocketing, that's what you're more likely to experience just a random individual. Like that's going to be more equal to like phishing emails, like really low grade commodity malware type stuff that's delivered over email. Like the risk of physically delivering this stuff is too high. Or in the case of like, oh, we're going to contaminate the shelves effectively, online or not, that's so high cost and so easy to find. That's like some, you just need one person to detect that this happened, and we'd all hear the news story. This kind of reminds me of that Bloomberg grain of rice story, right? Which is complete bullshit. My friend Joe Fitzpatrick is a great guy to talk about this. But basically, there was this Bloomberg news story that a little grain of rice components was found implanted in a bunch of servers, right? And it just doesn't make sense. Which is why that story didn't make sense, because there's so many other ways of approaching that are way less detectable. It's just anybody, like, how do you control where that goes? It's very hard to control where implanted hardware goes. And if you don't have control, anyone's going to find it. I think like the closest you can get to that might be that Israeli pager story, where they had to create a fake manufacturing plant to develop these things, and that is how they controlled where it went.
So I don't know, I'm not familiar with it.
Yes.
Those,
Yeah, totally.
the Israeli pager story where
Yeah.
they blew up all the Escalades.
Yes, exactly. So
Fascinating.
thousands of pagers. I think it was about 5,000 went out. So yeah, a lot of moves. But basically, what they did is set up a fake manufacturing company, right? And I think they had their own manufacturing plants and everything. They licensed a legitimate uh, model of pager from a legitimate company, well known. This is a typical relationship for a lot of hardware. You just license it and you sell it, and then you're like, yeah, put my name on it. Depends on what it is. Like obviously, Apple's going to do their own thing, but we're talking pagers, right? This is like 30-year-old technology here. So they did that. They had a bunch of. They even went as far as getting a bunch of random customers and gave them good pagers, but then they got their Hezbollah client, and I'm always curious about how they did that. There's some postulations, but they got their Hezbollah client. They made exploding pagers for them. They put high explosives in part of the battery and a detonator in there, and basically it was configured to detonate this thing after a specific message was sent to the pager. And the way paging networks work are all like broadcast, so you can send one message that goes to all pagers of the network. Which is probably what they did. Anyway, this was in play for, I don't know, I think it was like 1 or 2 years. The kids were out there, and slowly